Hi, I'm Jim, and this is Call to Battle. I have an interesting one something that caught my attention this week. I've been watching two different groups. One is on different podcasts. I watch Christian and non-Christian podcasts just to see what's out there, and mainly on relationships. On men, a lot on men and relationships is what I mainly focus on. And the interesting one is I'm seeing two different things happening. One is, especially on the non-Christian ones, guys are saying you shouldn't get married. They tell you all the issues with women, and you can get divorced and lose half your stuff and not see your kids, which is a concern. I get it. And the other one is women groups are saying stuff now like you should get divorced. If you're married, you should get divorced, especially if you're not, especially if you're 30, because you have your whole life ahead of you. And so if they're saying if you're stressed out, unhappy, get divorced. Of course, I look at that and I laugh because I'm like, oh yes, because the reason you're unhappy or stressed is because you're married, because there's nothing else in life that causes us stress or unhappiness. Oh, no, it's only marriage. Imagine quitting every time you're unhappy or stressed. I mean, this is what we've come to. Unhappiness or stress means I got to quit. Then you're going to be quitting your job every week or so. But this is advice that we're giving out there. I'm like, this is nuts. And also, because a woman might divorce you. Okay, that's a great reason. Let fear drive you. But there's something more here. There's something more here which is being missed that really affects me, impacted me. And one was, the misunderstanding of marriage. Okay, when people talk about marriage, they talk about, hey, I want equality, especially women. I want equality in my marriage. Marriage isn't about equality. And like, that's right, the man dominates over the woman. Nope. When God talked about marriage, what did he say? The two become one. It's about oneness. It's not about equality. It's oneness. See, only God can take 1 + 1 and make it equal 1. Only God does that. Matter of fact, the only other place in the Bible we see this type of thing is with the Trinity. Son, Holy Spirit. The three are one. We're sort of getting a glimpse of what that means and what that looks like with marriage. But when you want equality, that means you want 1 + 1 = 2. That means you don't want a oneness. You want two. You want separation. I'll tell you what, you're going to struggle to have a marriage that is effective, powerful, effective, and wonderful when you're looking to do that. And so we have this misunderstanding about what marriage is. Marriage is not about that. And it's about oneness, learning to be one. The man leaves his mother and father, becomes one with his wife. Now, we're not told to be one with our children. We're not told to be one with our parents, not one with our friends. No, only with our spouse. And I tell you, when this oneness is done, an amazing thing happens. I mean, I was talking to a guy, on going back and forth on the internet, and he was saying how terrible marriage is and all these divorces. I'm like, yeah, divorce happens. It's a terrible thing. But I sort of use the example. I was talking about, hey, listen, I've been married 37 years, 3 children. I cannot tell you how much richer my life is because of my wife and my children. I mean, my life would have been less without them. If I went by fear, she might divorce me, may not work out, I won't be able to see my kids. I can't even begin to think of what a void there would have been in my life. I mean, oh man, I can't tell you the joy it is to be with my children and to be with my wife. It's just overwhelming. My kids are grown now. Was there difficult times? Times that my kids were driving me nuts? Oh, you better believe it. I always joke that with your children, it's the greatest love-hate relationship you'll ever have. 1 minute you can't believe how much you can love a child, and next minute you're like, you want to wring his neck because he's driving you nuts. You never stop loving them. You're not going to do that. It's just a joke. It's a joke. But oneness is in marriage, and the issue we have is we do not begin to understand how to do it. We're clueless. And so I'm just going to mention 2 things. One is, say when you are married or even dating, men, big issue is we like to argue, or women like to argue, men like to argue. Right once you go to argument, you've lost. You've lost. Oneness is gone. And here's the difference. I call arguing and talking. I use these terms. You can use different ones. Arguing is you're trying to win an argument. Okay? So if I'm looking to win an argument, that means I want my wife to lose. What kind of husband wants his wife to lose? I mean, how does that show I love her at all if I want her to lose? See, when you talk, you're listening. You're trying to resolve an issue. You're trying to fix a problem. You're trying to make something work. And I tell you, especially as a man, if you're bringing oneness to your marriage, listen, You're trying to resolve. And how are men designed? What's the big joke about men? When you bring them a problem, we're looking for a solution. That's the way it's supposed to be, that we work at it, but it's not by arguing, it's by listening. Because I'll tell you what, a lot of times our wife has wonderful input, insight that we may not have. But as soon as we go to wanting to win an argument, we lose. We're not listening. I mean, when you're arguing, you're not listening to what the person said. I mean, just watch any argument you see. Rationale has gone out the door. So we're there to listen, to figure out how to resolve, and then you resolve. That brings a oneness, that brings a closeness. Because why? One key is you're listening. That is powerful, that is effective. One of the greatest things, you want to talk about Jesus Christ, it was probably one of the greatest at the Socratic approach. When the issues came up, when people attacked him, he came back with questions. It's amazing how many times he came back with questions, and it's amazing how many times Jesus didn't answer a question. And he was making people work it out. And either they were or they weren't. And actually, by asking questions, he was able to see if they wanted to or not want to. So stop arguing. Because that's not going to get you anywhere. The other issue is wisdom. The lack of wisdom amazes me. Okay, men will talk about how these podcasts, these non-Christian podcasts, will talk about women and all the crazy things they're doing and how destructive they are. And it's true. I understand what you're saying. They'll say many things about what some of these women are doing, that I'm like, you're right. That is destructive. That's not healthy. But their solution is, so don't get married. I'm like, that's like the old saying, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. No, what you need to do is quit on marriage. What you do is use wisdom. Why you would date a person that you see is not healthy, I don't know. That's being unwise. I call wisdom knowledge applied. See, we can all have knowledge, but it's when you apply it, wisdom kicks in. And so, part of these podcasts, I'm like, yeah, you're showing some of the things, warning signs. Well, look for warning signs, and then don't go down that street. And I was like, it just takes wisdom. And so you find the woman who don't have all these warning signs. Not really that tough. Now, on the woman's side, too, I get a kick out of it. When I do marriage counseling, when people are getting married, couple counseling, the question I ask for every couple, same one. I'll start with the woman. Is there anything you want to change about him? And almost without fail, every woman will say something. And without fail, I tell every one of them, well, that's not going to happen. Do you still want to marry him? And like, what? Some are surprised. I'm like, listen, this is who he is. Say if he loves watching college football on Saturday. He's not going to stop watching college football on Saturday because he's married you. He's still going to love it. You're expecting him to change. He's not going to. This is who he is. The only person who has the power to change anyone is that person and the Holy Spirit. No one else. I tell women, you do not have the power or the authority to change him. Only God does, and only he does. So it's making wise decisions. And it seems like we don't want to do that. We expect people to change or become something they are not. That's wrong. A couple of years back, I did that with my wife when it was probably about 5, 6, 7 years ago, and she goes to bed before I do. I went in and kissed her goodnight, and as I walked out, I said, "You realize this is as good as I get, And she started laughing. She goes, "Yeah, I know." And she goes, "And I love it." Wonderful of her to say that. Now, I talk too much. I joke around too much. I'm a goofball. But she loves who I am. Why? We're one. To hate me becomes hating yourself, where the Bible talks about your body is no longer your own. The wife's body no longer your own. For men, your body's no longer your own. You're each other because you're one. And I love who my wife is. My wife is this woman who's incredibly structured. She makes lists every week for her work list, her home list, the church list. She always has a list. That's not me at all, but that's who she is. And I love her. That is who she is. And so what? She's a part of me. We're one. So what we need in this world is a little more wisdom, a little more listening, a little more talking, and a lot less arguing. And it can be healthy. This is how marriages get powerful and effective. We don't need to end marriage. We just need to do these things instead. And when it's done, it's amazing what the result is. And I tell you what, I'll take my marriage every day of the week and twice on Sunday, as they say. All right. Have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. God bless.